A controversial aid group backed by the US and Israel says it's begun operations in Gaza despite objections from the United Nations. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation says it's now opened its first distribution hubs in southern Gaza. On Sunday, its executive director resigned, saying the mission couldn't adhere to humanitarian principles. The UN and other aid groups say the scheme would force further displacement of Palestinians and could breach international law. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is a new organisation meant to control the delivery of aid into Gaza after Israel blocked the United Nations from entering the Strip. Now, it's backed by the US and Israel, who say it's going to stop Hamas from stealing aid. That's an allegation that Hamas denies. Armed security contractors will guard the trucks from the border to collection points. Palestinians are expected to collect aid from those centres in southern Gaza, but there's no provision for those too sick or weakened by famine to walk long distances across the Strip. The United Nations has rejected the organisation, saying it would not engage with a plan that, quote, disrespects humanity, neutrality, independence or impartiality. Tareq Azzoum is outside central Gaza's largest hospital in Deir al-Balah. How hard is it going to be, Tareq, for people to get to those distribution points in the south?
Well, it's really very difficult process in order to get and to help people to get aid from the recently formed aid distribution hubs in southern Gaza. And we have seen that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has posted photos for a group of locals who have got aid parcels from one of these aid distribution centers in southern Gaza. And in one of the areas that is under the Israeli control, the organization said that it has started distributing aid for local communities here under the protection of private American security contractors. But on the ground, many Palestinians are questioning the neutrality of the foundation, saying that, and they point to its ties to government involved in the war on Gaza, raising quite massive concerns regarding the use of aid as a political tool and to use it to control the movement of Gaza's population. Given the fact that only who would move southward will get aid, it means that a very large proportion of Gaza's population will not be able to get such kind of aid because of their location in the northern part of the Strip. The long distance is one of the basic challenges here because people will be forced to travel for long distance under very dangerous security circumstances in order to get such parcels that will be enough for very few days, and later on they need to re-travel again, so their safety is not completely guaranteed, neither from the Israeli military nor from the security measures that will be completely carried out during the process of distributing aid. That includes biometric screening at aid checkpoints. But the work of this foundation also is triggering mounting criticism from humanitarian organizations and from the leadership of this foundation itself, as the key executive director of the foundation just resigned a couple of days ago, and his resignation reflects the foundation's failure, in fact, Rob, to uphold basic humanitarian principles, and has also triggered a wave of accusation that the foundation operates without sufficient transparency, bypasses trusted UN aid channels, and imposing intrusive security measures as well. For many families, they decided to not go there in order to get aid, and they are completely trusting what UN and other agencies have been doing over the course of the past decades regarding the process of aid distribution process. And mainly what we are talking about here on the ground is that people are quite concerned that they might be relocated in other areas and won't be able to return back to their houses or their temporary shelters. So many challenges have been really emerging and will just shape a kind of stumbling block regarding the success of the operations that will be carried out by such foundation.
Tareq, just as you've been describing there, even if they get to the distribution points, the process of actually getting the aid is going to be very difficult. At the same time, one of the risks that people are going to face as they try to make their way to those points is, of course, the ongoing attacks by the Israeli military. Just talk to us about the latest attacks that have been happening.
Well, it has been another sleepless night here in Gaza, Rob, as you can clearly hear in the background, the sound of drones continue to be extremely overheard, like approximately most of the time in Gaza, and the Israeli military is still categorically operating in Gaza in main two areas, in the northern border towns and villages and in the city of Khan Yunis. The Israeli military sets a clear target to defeat Hamas completely in these areas, but civilians have been completely bearing the cost of this political and military decision, because they have been found themselves in the move again, squeezed in the western side of Gaza City and in Al Mawasi area alongside the coastal line. And basically these recent airstrikes were concentrated on residential houses in Ash-Shuja'iyya neighborhood, where civilians there are reporting on ongoing fierce battles raging between Hamas fighters and the Israeli occupation forces. And the Israeli military continues as well to pound many shelters for local families. The latest was in Al-Karama neighborhood in the western end of the Gaza City. As far as we know, that one Palestinian was killed in the strike. And here in the south, we continue to hear a series of explosions every now and then as a result of the Israeli ongoing expansion for the ground operations and the deliberate demolition of residential houses. Apparently, Israel is trying to turn Khan Yunis into a model to be like, to look like Rafah, as a very devastating landscape. And later, we might see a gradual transfer and expansion for these ground operations to involve and include further areas in which the Israeli military will not operate for, using apparently the main justification to defeat Hamas as a clear reason to destroy what's left and what remains of Gaza's residential and civilian infrastructure as well.
Tareq, thank you very much indeed. That's Tareq Azzoum, and they're bringing us up to date from outside central Gaza's largest hospital in Deir al-Balah.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.